Hi, my name's Hayley Quinn and I'm here with the SWEXPERTS team to tell you about 3 reasons he didn't call you after date 2 or maybe date 3. Now this is a point of pain for many people and I fully understand that it's so aggravating when you feel that you've met a really good guy and then he suddenly drops off the radar. Before I go into explaining the reasons why he may have dropped off the radar, I want to first alleviate you from the pressure that if you're thinking, oh my goodness, I've just lost the perfect guy, what can I do to get him back? If he hasn't contacted you and he's just ghosted and dropped completely off the radar and he hasn't got in touch, I can guarantee you he is not the perfect man. You might think he's perfect, and that's because unfortunately when we meet new people, we tend to project onto them everything that we want them to be. Psychologists would call this the ideation phase. Other people would call this the honeymoon phase. So if you are in that mindset of, oh no, I've just lost the perfect man, you haven't lost the perfect man because you don't actually know him yet. And the truth is, if he isn't giving you the decency to give you an explanation about what's going on, he ain't perfect, and I can guarantee that. Okay, so here are a few reasons why he might not have got in touch. And I know this because as well as working with loads of women to improve their dating lives, I also work with tons of men. So I've had the privilege of chatting to literally thousands and thousands of guys about what they want in dating and relationships. And what I'll tend to find is if he suddenly drops off the radar, though you might immediately think, oh, this is all to do with me, the chances are it might actually not be at all. Of course, reason one is that he might not have felt that connection to you. Maybe something about how you interacted with one another on the date wasn't that unusual, wasn't that different, or he just didn't feel that level of attraction to you to want to continue. That might not feel good at the moment, but the good news is that we can find in there is, first of all, he is kind of allowed to choose who he wants to keep seeing and who he wants to have a sexual relationship with. That's his choice as much as it's yours. It's annoying when you don't match up with the other person, but usually it's not that they've, it's not like he's read your autobiography or hung out with you loads or knows all the depths of your soul. He's taken a snapshot of you. That snapshot is not one that's really got him hooked and engaged, and so he's moved on. But that doesn't mean that that's you. The impression that you have of one another on the first date is just a snapshot. It's not the real you. So a quite easy fix and workaround for this is if you're finding you're getting a lot of drop off in this area is to think, okay, not how can I behave better or how can I impress him more, but how can you communicate who you are more clearly so he really sees that individuality and that spark in you. And often good dating advice out there tells you that in fact you should do things that make you less individual. It tells you that you should be cool, that you definitely shouldn't flirt with him too much, that you shouldn't ever say anything risque, that you have to be a bit ice queeny, you have to play it cool, you have to be a bit challenging and let him chase you. In fact, all of those things can end up being off-putting from guys or can simply stop them from connecting to the real you. So maybe that happened. Maybe he got the snapshot, for whatever his reasons, that snapshot wasn't right for him and he didn't get call you. This makes him not a perfect individual, and if anything, the take home from that isn't that there's something wrong with you or that you're broken, but in fact that you could just look at things and go, okay, how do I work on my snapshot? How do I make sure that as a person I'm communicating who I am and not just listening to a bunch of rules and being on my best behaviour, which generally when you're on your best behaviour, it's not the right zone to flirt in anyway. That's one possibility. However, there's a couple of other possibilities. Another possibility could be he could have been seeing somebody else. I think it's pretty common. We might not feel comfortable talking about this, but it is common for in those early dating phases, before you've really settled on making a commitment to someone, to see a few different strands of people at once. If this is happening to you and that's something that that you're aware of, what might have happened, though this isn't again morally ideal, it's kind of understandable. Maybe he'd been seeing somebody for a bit longer than you, they had that connection, it was kind of on the fence about which way it was going to go, and he suddenly decided, I want to be with that woman. And because of that, I want to be respectful to her and I don't want to keep seeing everybody else. Now, it takes some chutzpah or some balls to then text all the other women you were seeing and say, I'm sorry, I'm just not feeling that level of connection, or I just see this as a friendship thing, or I've met somebody else and I really want to focus on her. That's the honourable, right thing to do, and hopefully humanity will eventually evolve that all men will do that. However, a lot of the time it will simply feel easier on him and politer and maybe even nicer just to whoop, disappear off the radar. Again, this isn't really to do with you, this is to do with him. This similar reason could occur even if there isn't another woman in his life and he just looks into himself and thinks, you know what, man, I I really need some me time. And because of that, he runs away and sits in his man cave. Again, nothing to do with you, that's just him. In fact, really, when things don't connect, particularly in the early phases of a relationship or the early phases of dating, it's so little about you and so much more about the headspace he's in and everything he's bringing to the table. Now, the third reason is there could be an anomalous reason why he hasn't got in touch. I know that it's like, oh, you're thinking maybe he just lost my number, but he could have done that. I've been there with guys that have lost women's numbers that they really liked, and that's been a point of pain. He could lose his job. He could have had a family emergency. He could have, you know what, just actually been out on a bender all night, drunk loads of pints, woken up in the morning and thought, I need to fix my life. Because I'm a man, I'm not going to try and fix my life with anybody else in it. I'm going to fix the life first and then go and look for a woman. These things can happen without, that's just life. You haven't done anything there to create that reaction. All he's doing is he's responding to environmental pressures, into who he is as a person, that have most likely far predated you. So if this is happening and you're like, why did that guy go? I want you to alleviate some responsibility. Remember that there are loads of other factors that could be contributing to him meeting you, not meeting you again. And generally, when people drop off the radar, it's not because you did something wrong. It's not because there's anything wrong with you. It's because, in fact, there's something going on with them that pre-exists you. Work on that snapshot of yourself. Make sure you're communicating who you are. Play your part really well, but also please accept that you can't control everything and it's not your job to win everybody over, because if you communicate who you are well, there is going to be many men out there who will look at you and go, I really want that woman. If you want more advice on how to improve your snapshot or to understand the funny intricacies of the male mind, please head over to hayleyquinn.com/club, where I've got tons of information and videos that will help you to do just that.